is Stephanie Ann, and today I felt like sharing with you something very big for me. It has taken me a while to be able to share this, but I'll try my best. About 4 years ago, in July 2008, I started to experience a little bit of a different feeling and emotion inside of me and discovering things about everything around me. And come September of 2008, I was quite attached to a friend of mine. I didn't know why. It was the first time that it really ever happened in person, and I was very fond of them though. But I didn't consider the feelings or anything like that, and I was fine with the friendship. I was only 17 years old, so I figured there's really nothing important to think about at that point. But when that September did happen in 2008, at 17 years old, I had a discussion with that person on the phone who wanted to discuss unresolved issues. And at first, my first thought was that he had feelings or some sort of thing for me, and I was a little nervous because I was like, this has never happened before. I don't know how this goes. But as we started talking in third person, because we couldn't easily say it to each other, he couldn't say it to me, I soon discovered that he was telling me the complete opposite of what I thought he was going to say. And soon enough I understood that I was not desired in that way, but I know he liked me as a person and that we would have a friendship, and that's fine. But it was a little hard for me to take that in because he wanted me to know that there could ever be anything more with us. And at 17 I'm thinking, okay, well, it's too early to determine, it's too early to tell, why should we be talking about this? So after that conversation I thought, it's not about feelings, it's not about anything like that, and I wanted to just figure it out. I guess a part of me was just like, there's something more about this. And so after that, it's like I went on this journey, this battle, like I'm determined to figure this out. Come December of that same year, I guess I completely lost all of those thoughts and feelings and everything, and I thought, okay, it's fine. There's something else for me, someone else, and I don't need to focus on that. But after about a month and January came, I found myself right back at where I was and totally confused, and I'm thinking, why do I feel this way? I thought I got over them. What's happening? At the same time, I also found out a secret that this person held about themselves. I found out through a message online that they sent me, and it put me in tears right away because I really was hoping that whatever they told me wasn't something they would have told me. But I understood and had to go through that pain, I guess, because it was everything mixed together. I mean, I found myself attached to them, unfortunately, through that hard time. Soon after that though, I always went to God and I always prayed to Him. I spent just about every single night and morning and day, whenever I could, praying about the situation and about everything. I found myself staring out the window because when I looked at the stars every single night, I always felt closer to God that way, because the stars are so far away and no man could create them, so I always just felt closer to God. I spent one night with my Bible and reading, and I asked God, what do you want me to do? What am I supposed to do? I have no idea, you know, this hurts, what do I do? And I only received one answer back, and that was to love this person, to love him, because it's the only thing that will save him. After that, I wrote it down. That whole entire year of 2009, I spent it just so up and down, trying to love throughout this, because there were times that he may have said something that would hurt me, but I would tell myself it's okay, just love him anyway. It was a battle. It was tough, having to love someone who may not have understood it the same way as you, and having to love someone who didn't even want a relationship like that except for a friendship. And I accepted just a friendship, but the fact that the future was completely shut off was hard to accept. I continuously loved, even those times that I would cry over the whole thing at night into my pillow. And I spent so much time and effort into praying and figuring this out, because I don't know why. It was something I guess I felt I needed to do. Come 2010, it was okay the first part of the year. It was about the same. We had our ups, we had our downs. I would still pray. I would receive prayers from people from my church at the time, and I would receive some messages from them of what they felt that really helped me, really brought me through it. The church I attended had a pastor who always talked about battles, and it always encouraged me. I'd always find myself up there at the altar praying for this particular person and for myself, and just fighting and determined to do this until it was over. And I never knew when that day would come, but I knew that in the end there would be a miracle, and I was determined to find that miracle and get to it. In the middle of 2010, about the middle, more like May and June, I ended up going through a very, very, very dark stage in this battle, and I found myself so down and broken, willing to die for this person if that's what it took, because I didn't know what to do. I don't know why, I was just so drawn to figure this out. It hurt me and I didn't know how. What am I supposed to do? So that one night that I was just laying there in bed and I was so broken, the person actually was kind of upset with me because I was emotional over that, and they felt like they couldn't help. But really all I wanted to do was just pretend it was okay, I guess, selfishly, because I was emotionally drained. Because they called me upset over this, it made it worse for me, and we ended the conversation and I just felt like crying. And so I felt so numb at one point, and I laid there in bed, and I remember just feeling so helpless, and my hand was like over the bed, and the only thing I could say, and I'll never forget this night, for what God did, is the only thing that came out of my mouth was God. 3 letters, G-O-D. And right after I said that, because that's all I could even think to say, I felt like it was lifted off of me, and suddenly I couldn't even cry, and I knew to myself, you will be okay. After that, the next day, I would get up, clean my room, and try to just be productive, pump myself up, and be happy again, and know that I will make it to the end of this battle, and I will be okay. It was still tough, I still had my ups and downs, but I got through that dark part of my life. And I'm very thankful that I've actually never had depression or anything serious like that. It was always just there, but I don't know, I managed to get through each little sad moment that I would have. So 2010 did remain like 2009, and it's just up and down, like we would be okay, and then I would be not okay, and here and there we would have our talks, and that was it. 2011 came. I was actually excited for this year because I felt like it had meaning or something. I just felt like this year would hold some sort of difference in life, and not really knowing what it was. I guess it could have been bad, but I felt like something was going to happen in 2011. So I entered the year all pumped up and excited, except it didn't start off excited, and I was wondering, why is it not exciting? I thought it would be exciting. Eventually though, things started to get a little rocky again, and at one point I thought I just would leave that person alone. This best friend of mine, I would just leave him alone. Over a week or so went by, and because I stopped communication, there was no communication at all. And I allowed that to hurt me and put me down, and wondering if I'm the only reason that this friendship even existed, because I put so much effort into it. Because I was determined to figure it out to get myself out of this unfortunate situation. Then it was nearing summertime, and it was nearing a birthday for him, and I gathered all kinds of different little things that had meaning to anything that we did or remembered, and I went to the store and remember something that he had pointed out but didn't buy for himself, so I got that, this, and everything, and I knew that the things that I got, they all had meaning. I'm not going to say what they are. So I got him stuff that I knew he would appreciate, and he would know exactly what each of them meant. And I gathered all these different things together. It was his 21st, and we were all excited. That day that I bought the last part of his gift, we had a text conversation at nighttime. And at this point, I had just got evicted from my dad got evicted from the house that we were staying in, unfortunately, because he's been having a difficult time finding a job at the time, and we could not afford to stay in that place anymore. So we got evicted and I had to live with my mom, but there was no room for me over there for any of my stuff. Therefore I had to have all of my stuff in the garage. And in order to have my space at nighttime, my own little alone time before I went to bed, I made a little makeshift bed on the floor in the living room right in front of the piano. So it was really tough for me to make that change. You know, I didn't have a room, but in my mind we were about to get a house very soon. The night that I was staying on the floor, I had that conversation with him via text, and eventually I was hoping he would make the decision that if he wanted us to part ways, that he would make it. So somehow I worded it in such a way that I knew I was manipulating him into being okay with this choice and allowing him to know I would be okay. And I knew I would be okay with God. I mean, it would probably be all emotional for me, but I knew I could do it. So he finally made the decision that we would part ways, and I accepted it. 2 days later, it was his birthday, and I knew we were going to get together. So he came over and I delivered all his gifts to him, and I was happy for him and made him his favorite cake and did all kinds of stuff to just go out of my way and do this. This is a big thing for me to share this because I have no intention to say anything on his part, just mine. After that, when we finished off the day with some bike riding and doing stuff like that, I knew that it was time that I would not be seeing him as a friend anymore, that we would not be hanging out. Tried to hold my ground and be strong and be okay, but it hit me. It hit me those days. I would try to be okay, and even my student's mom detected one day, and I thought I felt fine, I thought I was okay, and she looked at me and said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah." Then I told her it was a friend, but I guess she just assumed it was guy problems or something, and she told me there are plenty of guys in the world or something like that. Plenty of fish in the sea, I don't know. Just thought, I just said friend, okay? I know people could tell that I was pretty bummed, but I spent each and every single day after that writing this person a letter because I knew that they would come back. I guess, decided that that's what's gonna happen, and I knew it. And I had faith in it. 3 months later, they do come back for unfortunate reasons that I found out about what happened in his family, and then all kinds of stuff happened, and somehow we rebuilt this friendship, and I guess I allowed myself to be led on to believe that somehow he felt differently, and got my hopes so sky high. When I realized this, I thought, is something gonna change? And I was really hoping so because it really sucked. And well, I found out that no, nothing changed. And right before my birthday, it's like that minute before my birthday even came, I realized that and was just in an ugly, horrible state. But I ignored it, moved on, and my birthday came, and they made me feel very special that day. Every day after that, we spent just developing a stronger friendship somehow. So 2011 was ending, and once 2012 started, I started feeling like they were becoming distant slowly but surely in January. And soon enough, they were so busy with something else in their life, and I had no idea because they didn't speak to me about it. And I felt after a while that we were lying to each other. The only thing I felt that I was lying about is that I was pretending to be okay even though I wasn't. And that's what my lie was. But I felt like they were hiding so much from me, and that I was missing out on an entire part of their life. And that part of their life could very well be a reason to break me though, so I was afraid to know. Enough time passed with my built anger that I began to have, and I hated that because I don't like anger, but I had it inside of me because I felt like they were just lying to me, and that I was not a priority anymore in their life, and that they were breaking promises. And I never wanted to blame them or put them down. I never wanted to do that to him, but I was human and I had emotions, and I felt so low in his life. And I made a song about it called We're Lying. And Valentine's Day, I gave him a gift, and I felt like he didn't actually care to see me. And when I realized that, I knew I had to accept reality. I wasn't that special in his life anymore. I was just a friend. And I thought it was silly to think that, so I tried to ignore it. But I ended up leaving that day, as I could tell he didn't really want to spend any time. And he came up with an excuse to go inside, so I just left to my car and I started crying. I cried right when I turned toward the car. I cried my entire way home, and when I got home I ended up pulling out the camera in hopes that that would make me feel better, and I started taking pictures in front of this window, just letting my emotions out into a photo. After that, it was okay, I guess, but eventually it got to the point where he finally became open with what he was holding from me. It pretty much tore me down, but right after that I did what I always did, told myself that this was important, to go to God, and I went straight to God. I gave up food for 3 days to pray about this and show that this situation and finding what I need in my life was more important, and that God's guidance was more important to me than food itself. Therefore I gave it up for 3 entire days. First time I ever did that. Felt dizzy, almost passed out at work, but I knew what I was doing was important and I didn't complain, you know, just go through this, you'll be fine. So I cleaned my room, made a big difference. I always tend to clean my room, I noticed. And I just got up and tried to get all that ugly thought out of my mind and all the things that just tore me down, just to get it out of my mind and not think about it and just think positive. That was in March. And then April was a little better. It was just kind of dealing with the truth and accepting it and not allowing it to get me down. And then June came and I was not really feeling it, but I went along with it. And then I saw that particular friend at a little gathering. Suddenly I felt okay again. I used to question myself, why am I doing this? Why am I here? You know, why must I feel this way? And what will get me out of this? When will this ever end? But in June I spent many nights just starting to cry again and pray about it, thinking, when is the end to this? When will this be over? Because I'm having a really hard time dealing with it. And so I just started praying that God would help me to eventually, I thought, okay, I need to do something about this. So the pictures I had with that person in my room, I covered them with scriptures because if I ever looked over toward them, I wanted to see something that would remind me, hey, God's got this. And so I put the scripture, still up there. Well, now it's just in the frame by itself, but be still and know that I am God. And that one just came to me, it just hit me, and every time I'd see it I'd think, be still and know. I would look at it, I would see it, I'd be encouraged, I'd be reminded, and this year in June where we're at in the story, that's basically what I was telling myself. Then, June 28th, I spoke with one of my really good female friends who we always talk to each other and help each other out, and we go through similar stuff, so it's really helpful. And I talked with her, and we thought, it was my suggestion, hey, let's spend about 7 days obsessing over God and focusing on Him. Let's just do that. And she was like, okay, and we were up for it. So that night, June 28th, I got all pumped up, cleaned my room, thought everything's gonna be fine. I'm not depressed anymore, I'm fine. Not that I was depressed, but you know, I'm like, I'm not gonna be all dwelling on this bad stuff. And so the next day was day 1, and I spent it, unfortunately there was a party, so I was like distracted the entire day with all these people inviting here and there and going, eating out and coming home late. Then the next day we spent the whole day at the beach, and I'm just like, I'm trying to focus on God here, but I was reading my Bible and praying. Every time that the worried thoughts would come to my head or something that was unfortunate, I'd be like, nope, don't think that. Anything that wanted to come at me and scare me, I pushed it away and just said no. Because in my mind I was like conscious about the fact that I wanted to grow closer to God and I wanted to be more involved with what He has for my life. I felt like there just had to be something happening soon, a miracle of some sort, bring me something. Then July 1st comes and I'm just still going at it, and I still had these emotions and these feelings. And then July 2nd, I still kind of had it, and I vlog these days, and they're online. That vlog is actually online now. 3rd, I had a conversation with a friend. Well, I wasn't really feeling it too hardcore, the situation I was in. I was like, okay, I was fine. But when I was talking to her, I got reminded of my faith and what I've done throughout all these years, and the constant prayers and the constant not giving up on someone and just showing them what love is. I realized in the end that the most important thing I needed to learn was that I was chosen to show God to a person who dealt with so much throughout their past and so many things that tore them down that I understood over time. And I was called to tell them and show them, hey, God loves you and you're worth it and He wants to do something in your life and He's calling you, so answer Him. Once I got that fully in my mind, I was just amazed, thinking, God, you taught me how to love. You taught me what's important. Loving is not receiving anything in return, but just loving them anyway. As I like to say, love nonetheless. After I realized that and learned that completely, fully, I was okay. I was thinking, this is a beautiful lesson. I do not regret anything. I mean, it took that long to really see the full effect, but oh my goodness. I learned how to love unconditionally, and I'm still learning this day, but that just amazed me. I realized that, July 3rd-ish. Then July 4th happened, which over here is Independence Day, but I don't really care for the holiday. Somehow on July 4th, it's like I did a complete 180. I wasn't where I was. I didn't feel that attachment to the person anymore. They still mattered, still cared for them, I still would include them in prayer, but after that I thought, I'm going to leave them alone. I'm going to just continue this journey with God in these 7 days, and I'm going to be okay. Whatever God's going to do, He's going to do it. I left the person alone, and then I had no desire really to talk to them. I didn't feel all hurt by not hearing from them. I didn't have them on my mind, and new things, just completely new things that I'm not even going to explain because it's kind of funny, but no, it's too personal. And new things came to my mind, my heart, and everything, and I was at a different stage in life, but after that I realized what I was desiring inside, what I was missing, that I knew that I wanted that companionship with someone, and not that person anymore, but I just wanted that companionship. I felt like I wanted to love someone. I wanted to love the crap out of them. I wanted to make someone feel utterly special. And that's what I was used to, that's what I wanted to do. So I start freaking out and I'm going crazy, and July 6th finally happens, because July 5th was pretty bad, but then July 6th I'm just like, what is wrong with me? I'm so impatient. But I open up to my family finally for the first time to say, I've never been in a relationship and I'm having a hard time dealing with accepting that, because I just don't want to settle for anyone. I wanted to actually be that person I can be in sync with, be a companion to, and someone I can love, and that it would be okay, that I would not be hurt so many times because they didn't want anything like that, So I'm just like, why do I have to want this? Why can't I just not want it and I'll be okay? I don't want to settle for anyone. I just wanted to love someone dramatically so. Obviously I had another lesson to learn after that. That night, July 6th, I open up to my family. My aunt prays for me. She says I felt like I was at a crossroads, which is exactly what I felt I was at. So I'm like, yep, that's right. God knows I'm at a crossroads. And so I'm just like, where am I supposed to go right now? What am I supposed to do? And so I go to play the piano before I come back to my room, and as I'm at the piano, my song keeps changing. I'm playing it really loud and hard, realizing, whoa, this is my mind. It's crazy. It's going back and forth from one thing to the next, one thought, here, there. And it's just, so I get up off the piano, and I scream playfully as I'm going down the hall, and I start laughing, thinking, what is wrong with me? I am impatient. I don't like this. I'm a patient person. Why am I impatient? I get back to my room, I make a video, have these sudden realizations of what God just did, and what He did to me was He opened that up, allowed me to see what's inside of me, what's coming, and what I need to deal with, and showed me that so I can understand. And after I understood that, I was able to let it go and give it to Him. And as I did that, I suddenly realized what He did, and it just made sense. I'm like, God, you allowed me to see that you knew that I have a desire inside of me, that I have a passion waiting to come out for someone, but you needed to take that from me and take it away so that I could be okay. I need to find my happiness in the one who created me. Sudden realization, a transformation. I made a video on it and put it on Facebook. I just felt better letting it out, realizing July 6th was the very first journal entry for my last battle. I decided to write on July 6th when I thought, I wonder what God is doing. And it's just like exactly 4 years later, I'm like, my battle's over. My battle's over. and God has something great for me, and I'm going to be okay. So after July 6th, I had this utter happiness. Everyone pretty much saw it, you know, online, Facebook. I posted pictures and encouraging things. I was feeling so great, you know. It was just, it's gone. The pain, the battle, it's all gone. But I ended it with my last day to, you know, all those feelings and hurt feelings. I forgave that person. I had no reason to hate them. I was glad that I came out of that attachment so that I could be more calm. I said my say with that person and let them know that God really loves them, and that it was just Him that whole time loving that person throughout the entire battle, that God just really wanted to show them how much He loved them and that He had a plan for their life. And whether they take that and run with it or ignore it, put it on the shelf, it's really up to them. I can't force anyone, but I just hope they never forget what God did for them. And through that I learned a big, beautiful lesson, and I feel like that was my great distraction, as I like to call it, for 5 years of knowing them, that I had something to do. I had a calling to fulfill, a purpose, and that it just kept me going because I knew that I was waiting for something special someday. This ring here is a part of that waiting, and it's not to be replaced until later with the wedding ring, except it doesn't fit on this finger anymore, so I kind of switched to the middle one. But so because I was waiting, it's like I had this distraction with someone who I could trust, because this particular person wasn't going to put a move on me or tempt me into something, and I actually could have a genuine friendship even though we had problems and everything, but that was okay. I started to just finally understand this, and it amazed me at this point. So with my distraction, I made it to 2012, July, kept myself safe. I was okay, and I always tried my best to guard my heart, and this was just a calling in a situation that I needed my heart to actually do it, and therefore I feel like I put my heart on the line for a good reason, and that was just to do as God asked me to do, and that was to love them, and that's what I did. And to prove that I expected nothing in return, I was able to walk away with absolutely nothing. To walk away without what I had wanted. I knew what I wanted at the time, but I was able to walk away without it, accepting that I did this not for myself, but for God. And it took me a while to learn that, to really do it correctly, but it was a beautiful lesson. It really was. Intense. And some parts of me are kind of like, wow, what happened? But as that happened, and very recently, for this month of July, I started to realize that after this battle and after everything I went through, I developed a fear inside of me that this would happen again. Maybe not necessarily the same, but that if I began to see someone in such a beautiful light like that, that it would hurt me if it was just the same feelings of not being desired in return. And so that fear started to hit me because I was scarred, and this was my past, this is all I ever knew, this is how I reacted. When something like that reminded me of it, I would react in such a way, they don't want anything, what do I do? And I get all awkward and I feel really bad, and I finally realized this last night that God wanted to deal with it with me, so He allowed me to go through this by pulling it out of me and showing me, look what you're dealing with, Stephanie, let me take that from you. And when I realized this last night, I started to smile thinking, you just want to take it, you want it out, and now I realize that this was all for a purpose, for a reason, on purpose, and I feel better just knowing, hey, you can take this away, God, and take it out of me. And so I realized that I had the fear, there was the impatience that He's been showing me, and just taking it from me and just molding me into a new person. And I don't know how to explain what He's been doing, but He has been, and I'm utterly excited for what He has next in my life, because at this current moment in time, and I just want to say this to be amazed later on in life when I watch this again, is I feel like He's about to do something huge and different. He's about to point me to my next step. I'm leaving God to surprise me. I am actually one for surprises. I love surprises. Surprises and man sweaters or hoodies. Don't ask. Those are two things I love in life. that is my story. I just felt I needed to share it because I feel like it's a big, giant, amazing thing that happened, and you never know what people are going through, and so I thought maybe somehow my testimony can help someone in enduring to the end and not regretting what you've done or been through, and not being angry at your situation, but rather embracing it and realizing, hey, this is what's going to make me stronger. So I'm proud to say that I'm alive. Great things have been happening and developing in my life. Now, I don't know what God has next, but I'm ready for it. Bye.